live from New York. It's a show that's defending Gino Auriemma.
Listen.
Blindly. I had to go back and research what I was defending.
A lot of people's Caitlin Clark takes not aging well. Bruin mine, aging like fine wine.
She's nice.
Anyone
She's nice.
with the Connecticut bias,
ridiculous.
He fired off some bad takes, and you defend them by proxy.
I have to read the tape.
We played it on the show, and you were like,
He didn't say all. He said she was going to have a tough start.
You had Yukon-colored Jordans on, and you were like, told you so. That's what
I like
did.
Caitlin Clark. I like Gino, though.
Okay. Well,
first things first. That's a tough one if you're playing the Ravens. Even though they beat you already, it's still a revenge game. Career head-to-head, Mahomes dominating in pretty much every category other than turnovers. Lamar has 6, so he's winning that one. Does Lamar need to play outstanding? I changed the question to outstanding.
Yes. Wow. I think, oddly, this is one of the biggest games of Lamar's career.
Wow.
I actually have a list. Can we just
start
the show off? Yeah. The single biggest game of Lamar's career is the one he just played. That one we all agree with. The AFC title game. That was the biggest game of his career. It's the furthest he'd ever been in the playoffs.
Statistically,
you're playing Mahomes, all of it. Okay.
Chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Right. Second biggest game of his career was the divisional round the year he won the MVP. That was his second playoff game, but his first playoff game is as, where he'd had the full season as a starter and where they were the huge favorite, expectation, unanimous MVP, and it was shocking that they lost that game. Absolutely shocking. It was the next biggest game of his career, I would argue, would have been the next year when he had another chance to get the AFC title game. And those are 3 playoff games. Those are 3 furthest he's ever been in the playoffs. Number 4 is this Thursday. Number 4 is Thursday night. Because the Chiefs have owned him. Because Patrick Mahomes has thoroughly outplayed him in every spot in his career. He's only played well against the Chiefs one time ever. And there is the real factors of, home field advantage. Starting the season anew, not being essentially 2 games back of Kansas City, all of that. So, yeah, I do think this is one of the biggest games of his career, and I think he absolutely has to play well. So, yes, is my answer.
I definitely can't put, obviously the first 3 are playoff games. I would put any of his playoff games ahead of this game coming up. And I say no, he doesn't have to play an outstanding game. And here's why. If they win and he plays poorly or, like just a mediocre game at best, maybe even a bad game, and they win, Ravens aren't taking that? Because, one, they got revenge, if you will, or they got a big win in Kansas City, which will help your mentality. But you also did it with your best player struggling. So now your mentality is, we beat them with Lamar not at his best.
I don't even know if that's
Wait till But do you think that's possible?
Well,
that's what I was getting
last year, they beat Houston.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he has a terrible game. I'm just saying not very good. Last year, week 1, he throws for 169 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, runs for no touchdowns and only 38 yards, and they beat Houston, which we found out was a good team. And then in the playoffs, he goes 2 touchdowns against them, 2 rush touchdowns, 2 pass touchdowns. So 4 total against Houston. So, yeah, I don't think he has to have a spectacular – he can't go out there and be a turnover machine. But if he says – let's say he throws for 1 touchdown, maybe has 2 turnovers, whether it's a fumble and an interception or whatever, and they win the game somehow.
I just feel like that. I feel like the only way they can win against – because this – Chiefs team is not Houston and CJ's first start, D'Amico's first game.
No, I get that it's on, but here's the other thing.
Yeah.
What if he plays great, and they lose?
I think that
is that going to set
that would actually be okay.
No, it wouldn't, because now if you're the Ravens, you're like, and their fans, you're saying, Lamar did his thing. He was great. We get why we didn't beat him in the playoffs because Lamar didn't play well. And most of the other games he's faced them. Now he did his thing, and we still lost.
But if it's like a special teams touchdown,
yeah. But what if it's not? What if Kansas City, like it's?
But then you feel like we have the full season to get the defense to the level it needs to be. I think they need to see Lamar be great against this team.
Yes.
Well, now whoever that is, maybe. But I would say this about Lamar, and I think you see, like when you watch him in his press,
I love his demeanor.
dude, if he's nervous or if the Chiefs are in his head rent-free, dude's got a great poker face.
That's right.
Because he does not show a lick of, yeah, they got my number. He doesn't show any of that. So I think he's too mentally tough for that to phase him if he doesn't play well.
Here's what Lamar did against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. We all remember it, but here's the actual data. Completion percentage at 54. So, Brew, you have to agree that has to be up. Passing yards at 272. That has to be more. Rushing yards, 54.
That's what might change. Maybe.
I mean, passing yards, 272 is actually. You're right. Passing yards actually fine.
That's
actually solid.
320 yards combined, you'll take it.
I actually want that to come down a little bit. And the rushing yards.
The numbers,
the
maybe,
turnovers.
Outside of the turnovers, those numbers probably look even better than he didn't.
Well,
like you look at those
yards
was
bad, but the yards numbers look good, and that. So here's
it's a completion percentage.
So here's the thing, Wild. Because last year, if you guys remember, early in the year, I kind of soft launched a take that this is the toughest. When you're in the professional take business, these are the toughest ones. The ones you truly believe and think you can back up with data and information, but emotionally you don't even want to say it. Because it feels like, last year it was, guys, if there's another playoff flop for Lamar, the Lamar Jackson, James Harden comps are going to start popping up. Now, they can be for different reasons, you know what I mean, the failures, whatever it is. And I think there's a lot of similarities there. But one guy is almost like a punchline and in a way that we feel like doesn't handle his business professionally, all these things. The other guy, I think, goes about just about everything the right way and everyone likes. So you don't like to do it. But if we were to say, like, hey, who does Lamar struggle against? Because it's a very short list. So we can show you Lamar in his career against Kansas City, and that's not necessarily a Patrick Mahomes thing, or is it? Because prior to last year, the Chiefs have had bad defenses, in some years very bad defenses, when they've played Lamar. Yet, for some reason or another, it's not just the win-loss record, it's the numbers are bad. But then let me expand it, Brew. Wait, what if there's only 2 teams in the league Lamar struggles against? Who are they? Well, the Steelers, they're sworn rivals. Right. The Chiefs, their actual modern-day rivals, really bad. Against the rest of the conference, elite. Against the furthest from a rival you could get, the other conference, maybe the greatest ever. Those are not nothing.
So are you saying it's mental?
I'm saying that if it were any other player in any other sport, and we're like, hey, he's an A+ in all settings, except for when they play their 50-year rival and when they play the other multiple-time MVP in the league. In those 2 specific settings, and by the way, also the playoffs against anybody. In those settings,
to me, that wrecks your argument because he struggled in the playoffs pretty much against anybody.
Which would also, unless the argument is that even though we don't like to say it, some of it is mental. That whether it's I'm playing Mahomes, we're playing the Steelers.
What about Cincinnati? He's 4-1 against Burrow. He's 8-2. That's what Cincinnati is a rival right now too, especially with Burrow. They got to the Super Bowl. So those are huge games.
That's fair. I think that a lot of that, 8-2 against Cincinnati, like as you mentioned, half that is without Burrow, and some of it's before Burrow even came. Burrow. Right.
Because that's my major reason. I get what you're saying because Harden and Lamar, excellent in the regular season, historically great players, and then don't get it done in the playoffs. The difference is, I think, you may not agree, I do think it's mental with Harden because it happens in those big game 6s, game 7s, other games. He's great in the playoffs. Lamar, I don't think it's mental. I think Lamar's got a real limitation in that he is not an elite passer. I think that's what now he's a great elite quarterback, but a lot of it's because of his arm. He's a good passer at this point, or legs. He's a good passer at this point, but not a great one.
Brew, would another Kansas City win make you rethink your Ravens Super Bowl pick? Just rethink it.
Are you saying that's on the table? Like, is that possible? I can come in next Friday
you can just rethink
and make a different pick? No, look, no, because I think, and I said it last week, there are built-in explanations if you lose in your race. One, you're playing in Kansas City. Two, it's Super Bowl night, right? They're going to be celebrating their Super Bowl. They're going to be the banner, the flag, whatever's going to go up and all that. Three, you have a new defensive coordinator and a few new offensive linemen. So if you get beat, you can look, hey, we lost by 3. We lost by 7. We don't even have our team together yet. We'll be fine. The one thing that would at least give me pause is if they get blasted. Like if they go in there and I mean by 20-something points.
Well, that would be
or even 17.
No, I'm just saying the Ravens don't really get blown out.
Look, Lamar, and we got a graphic.
Oh, okay.
These are the quarterbacks, which will show you they're pretty much the best quarterbacks. And I think we have a graphic
I'm sure it's coming.
of how many losses Lamar has had in his career by double figures. It's only 4.
Okay.
In his whole career, only 4. And Mahomes is number 1 with 3. So yeah, if they got smashed, and by the way, his last double-digit loss was like November of 2021. So you're talking about 3 years.
That's a crazy stat for all those guys, by the way.
Yeah, you don't get, they're always in games. So yeah, if they get crushed, it'll give me a little pause.
Does that, by the way, so that also, I mean, does that include the postseason? It doesn't.
No.
So that's the other weird thing for Lamar, because he has, I think, three of his 4. He lost 17-3 to the Bills, 28-12 to the Titans. The Chiefs one this year was only 7, and then there's one I'm forgetting. So he has 2 or 3 double-digit, playoff losses on it. Mahomes obviously has 1 double-digit playoff loss, to be fair. I don't know if Josh has any double-digit playoff. No, the Bengals won 2 years ago, 27-10. But regardless, here's why I think it's doubly important, Wilds, because you and I both agree. What is it?
It's a must-win, pretty obviously. It's like the definition of
must-win.
This is not a must-win. We might as well retire the segment.
Agreed, Wilds.
I'm done.
And so when you lose to the team who ended your season the previous year in your season opener, over the last 15 years, and we can show it to you, it has belied a season from hell. That's what it's meant.
I mean, that's bad for you, Brew.
I mean, that is not just.
I see no way any of those records is going to happen to the Ravens.
Okay.
Even if they lose, even if they get beat soundly.
So I guess all I would say is, I don't think many people thought that the 15-1 Carolina Panthers with league MVP quarterback the next year was going to go 6-10.
You know what they were.
No, I understand that with Cam, they were a bit of a roller coaster. I don't think many people thought the Packers were coming off, I think, the 15-1 season. That wouldn't have been their 15-1 season. But regardless, the 2012 Packers coming off that year with Rodgers in his middle of his prime, who's going to be the one, that they go 8-7. I think most of those maybe the Browns one people could have seen, okay, they're not that good. It was the Browns. That's fine. I think most of those times we didn't see it coming. And I just think that there will be a real, maybe not for Lamar, but for other guys, man, how are we going to beat these guys? They beat us at the end of the year, now they beat us at the beginning of the year. They beat us in our building, now they beat us in their building. The one time that we have beaten them with Patrick Mahomes was the 36-35 where they went for that was the famous, what do you want to do, Lamar? And Lamar's like, I want to go for it. They went for 2 and then also went for a 4th down late and kept the ball. And so I think there is a massive psychological factor if the Chiefs win this game. It's why, for the 100th time, if I were a Ravens fan, it's not the game I would have wanted to open my season.
This dude wins 75% of his games.
And 20%
and he's
against the
still
Chiefs.
very much in his prime. They might lose Thursday, but I'm just saying, I don't think this is going to stop them from having a great year.
Yeah, but do you think
and
that
missing the playoffs?
Here's the last question I asked. Do you think if they lose Thursday, somewhere in the back of their head, they're going to be thinking, man, come January, someone's got to beat them for us? Like that, if we're going to need.
If you don't get blown out, no. Okay. If it's a close loss, I do feel, Nick, like they should feel like they're going into this game like we beat ourselves last year. If we don't have all those unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, the taunting penalty, we stop being who we are, we have a loss of identity, that's why we lost. So it'll help them if they win for sure, but they'll be fine either.
Okay. Fox Sports running a QB confidential poll. The question, who is the smartest quarterback? And all the old starting quarterbacks won out. Poll respondents reporting that while these three guys, top three, might only have 4 good Achilles between them, they are wise. Rodgers got 15 votes, Stafford got 12, Cousins got 3, and then everybody else got 1, namely Mahomes getting 1. Brew, what's your reaction?
I'm surprised that Mahomes got only 1 and things like that, but I'm going to focus on Rodgers. I get people looking at, look, he's the most experienced guy. He's obviously an all-time great. He's 40 years old. Like, his experience is far surpasses everybody else in the league pretty much. And then you look at his interceptions. Oh, he never throws interceptions. He's smart. And I'm not saying he's not a smart quarterback, but I also look at he's been accused of, and I think it's right, a lot of times in their big games, particularly in the playoffs, because he is so cautious and like, I just do not want to throw interceptions. Sometimes he's too cautious and he doesn't make risky plays and, throw the ball in harm's way occasionally when you need to get a win. And I don't think that's smart. I think occasionally really smart athletes know that you have to risk some things. And he's so risk averse that I would argue, and even sometimes we've seen him focus in on, say, a Devontae Adams and not find other open receivers at critical times. And so I just have an issue with that, and I think that's a sign. And look, this is a guy, physically, he's got everything. One of the all-time greats. If he's also elite intellectual, yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't have everything physically?
Well, he got 1 Achilles.
No, I think Brew means throughout his career.
Throughout his career.
Throughout his career. I don't know about right now.
Brew is saying, I think what Brew's saying is, he has no physical limitations, so if he's also the smartest,
right. Why has he only been to 1 Super Bowl?
That's what.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't think he was always the smartest.
No, I mean, not when like a Peyton Manning and Brady and those guys.
Do you want to go before I go?
Well, I have a hot take.
Okay, sure.
It's too stupid to say on TV.
Well, it's good.
You keeping it to football?
Quarterbacks, and it's.
I wonder if a lot of your stuff, it's too stupid.
My stuff?
No, let me hear it. Let me hear it.
I do wonder, I'm treating this 100% seriously, the trust issues of throwing the interceptions, of him locking in, it does dovetail nicely with what he said he opened up post-ayahuasca. And are we actually going to see, not joking, are we actually going to see a different mindset of Rodgers?
So you think he might throw?
Where he's more trusting.
He's just more
less
trusting, more open. I think people have viewed the ayahuasca thing as either like, supporting Aaron Rodgers blindly or just dismissing it outright. And I'm in this middle fuzzy zone of like, you know what? It's proven to help lots of people in lots of different ways. I wonder how this will translate onto the field with a new team. Is he going to be like, you know what, buddy? In my old Aaron Rodgers wouldn't trust you, but now I'm going to throw it.
I like that idea.
And it gets intercepted.
I like that idea.
Well, he had, 12 interceptions in his last year in Green Bay?
So I like that. I hate this poll. This is not at all how I would, because Rodgers and Stafford are 2 of the most physically gifted quarterbacks in football, and they're the top 2. So, honest to God, I think my vote would have gone to Jacoby Brissett. Because the guy has, the fact that he has been able to learn multiple systems, succeed at a medium level, given the fact that I think he is on a most arm talent physical ability list, 75th in the league. And if it has to be a star quarterback, I think Joe Burrow would be high on my list because he doesn't have that. Right, he didn't get a vote.
What about Purdy, though?
Right, so
Purdy
under that exact, or Tua as well, like the anticipatory throwing. I think that's. But the fact that the 2 of the most physically gifted guys were the top 2 vote getters, and Mahomes only got 1, means they weren't looking at it like I did. And it means we need the bulletin board.
Oh, wow.
Because QB Confidential said something very, very clear here, guys.
Can I tell you something?
Can I tell you what they said?
The board is looking great.
It's looking great, and QB Confidential said Mahomes is done.
Week 1.
That's a stretch.
That's what they said. And so QB Confidential, new series on Fox Sports. You can check it out, but you're already on the board. If you're going to put Stafford and Rodgers at the top and not hold their arm talent against them, and one of 35 guys votes for Mahomes, not okay. They're on the board. And the board, we need an extender.
Yeah.
We need the board to get higher. We need a bigger board.
Huge board.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.